welcome to the show.
Hello, Ziggy. Thanks for having me.
I hope you made it to the studio without any issues. No carjackings or drive-bys along the way.
No. Fortunately, the streets of Night City are getting safer.
Well, welcome back, chummers. I gave you a shot of the new intro from Act 2. This is Erik Malkavian in the world of Cyberpunk 2077. And as you know, in our last exciting episode, we came back from a gunshot wound. I'm not sure. What is this? It doesn't look like alk liquor to me. What is that right there? What does it say? Brother Valentino foraying Pacifica. Corporate Magoe Antonio Lucchesi dead at 142. Life and legacy. I don't know what that is. I can't read it. Arasaka. I've never taken a look around his apartment before. Our apartment. No Life. Speaking of No Life 3, we picked up a shard related to that. In fact, we're going to take a look at all those shards right now. Whoops. Those shards right now. Whoops. And we have a level up. Yeah, we had a shard related to Life 3. New Life review. After 50 long years, the wait is finally over. The third and final installment of the New Life series will be No Life series will be available for purchase tomorrow. As has been reported already, gamers should not expect any major shakeups in regards to the protagonist. I assume this is like Half-Life 3. We still play as strong, silent type scientist Baron Friedmans. We follow Baron as he ventures to the Arctic Circle to, well, why spoil it when you have your hands on it in less than 24 hours? The gist, with Alice at Baron's side and trusty crowbar in hand, those nasty aliens are in for a rude awakening. Okay, yeah, that's Half-Life. Literature, 1,000 beats a second. This is what we got out of the Maelstrom place. I couldn't believe my eyes. For a moment I thought Jessica had changed them out for faulty Kiroshis while I was asleep. But no, that wouldn't have been like her. I blinked again, no change. There I saw them, clear as day, the open flaps adjacent chrome skull. I saw the electronic brain that, up until now, had been hidden by perfect imitation sin skin. The son of future tech CEO, the boy in my damn dreams, Jason. He was an android. Drek. I sat there stuck with a dumb expression on my face, and Jason stood back with one of his own. I couldn't help but wonder now, were those beautiful blue eyes of his the same that had pierced my soul? Or were they merely a mimicry controlled by some motion emo algorithm? Alright, so this is... Okay. can read that. Okay, 75 Years of Cyberware by Tisho, uh, Tsutomu Takahashi. A century ago, losing limb meant tragedy. It meant living with permanent disability, with severely reduced physical capability and often with chronic pain. What's more, people with disabilities frequently suffer from widespread discrimination, both active, employment bias, and passive or unconscious, poor infrastructural inaccessibility. Today, assuming the dismemberment victim is financially stable, loss of limb amounts to little more than a minor inconvenience. A century ago, employers could impose specific dress codes, hairstyle regulations, and piercing tattoo bans. Maybe even press their employees to maximize productivity, often in violation of the law, such as through anti pregnancy policies. At the time, however, deeper involvement with employees' bodies was simply impossible, legal or otherwise. But with the advent of cyberware, employers in the second half of the 21st century have imposed requirements for skin, bone, muscle, organ, and eye replacement in order to improve performance and workplace effectiveness. In extreme cases, security sector employees are commonly urged to undergo so-called full body conversions or full cyborganization. It's like Atom Smasher. Much has changed over the past 75 years from when cybernetic implants first hit the mass market. Many in the field of history of technology have argued cyberware is a positive force for progress, and many have argued the opposite. This book attempts to describe and contextualize the changes, for better or worse, that it has introduced to our professional personal lives. How has cyberware led us to where we are today and where it is taking us next? All food, the future of meat. Not only are all food products healthy and nutritious, they will feed our future. Soon, all foods will launch a pilot line of new products to complement the Easy Beef brand. The series of meat products will be based on flatworm cultures, which have been found to significantly help increase metabolism, slow weight gain, and cleanse the intestinal tract. Yikes. We hope the Flatworm Initiative will usher in all foods' latest successful generation of meat products. Psychosis of Max Tech. If a psychotic killer is prowling the streets, they're supposed to defend us. If your average Joe Blow goes ballistic in his cubicle, they're supposed to bag him and drop him off at the psych unit. They're supposed to make us feel safe in a world of madness. But be honest with yourself. Have you ever really felt safe in the presence of Max Tarek? What the mainstream media won't tell you is that 90% of Max Tac interventions end in the killing of the cyber psycho. And if you confront anyone about it, the official word is they only take the life when absolutely necessary. But don't buy into their bull drag. For them, the kill is a must to keep bystanders happy with the display of blood-stained justice. And if a few civilians die, well, tough drag. They'd say it's just a necessary evil for the greater good. Only, who's good exactly? I witnessed one of these interventions firsthand. The cyber psycho stormed into a mall, armed to the teeth, and shot 7 people before slipping into a detached state of calm, mumbling God only knows what to himself. Max Tack arrived after a few minutes and immediately opened fire. The gunfire jolted the cycle back into a frenzy. By the time Max Tack secured the area, 25 people had died. What a heroic success, huh? You waiting for a bottom line? Here it is. All Max Tack members used to be cyber psychos themselves. Every single one. The same people who butchered innocents on the streets just a month, a week, a day earlier are now our knights in shining armor. Is it any surprise nearly each of their interventions ends in an unavoidable massacre? Just a funny coincidence? You tell me. Yokai, Japanese demon of yesterday and today. They made their homes on mountaintops, in rivers and oceans, on city streets, and on every mega building floor with the number 4 in it, even in your washing machine or infovisor. Some appeared in concrete places, while others simply haunt a specific person. They're there when you hear a strange noise in the middle of the desert. They're there when you feel like someone's watching you, although there's not a soul in sight. They're there when you glimpse something out of the corner of your eye, something nobody else seems to notice, but you were just at the Ripper Docks for your checkup. The yokai first appear in Japanese literature in the year 797. These mysterious beings, though closely linked to the invisible realm of the dead, have been alive in the Japanese consciousness from the very birth of animism. It's not that the Japanese believe in the yokai, they simply know the yokai exist. In addition to phantoms, ogres, and other mysterious phenomena, the yokai also includes a group of shape-shifting demons called a book or bakemono. The bakemona are said to sometimes take the form of a faceless person, a one-eyed scarecrow, or an animal. It is said that when a cat reaches a certain age, it becomes a bakoniko. These yokai are able to walk on their 2 hind legs, speak and dance and assume human form, or even devour their owners and take their place. The bokoniko sometimes visits people in their sleep or even wake the dead. All they have to do is to hop over a corpse and bring it suddenly back to life. However, the demons are capable of much, much more. One should exercise extreme caution around a double-tailed cat, to say the least. This is a Nikomona, a yokai with a shamanic and necromantic capabilities, able to place curses on people and control the dead. In its human form, a Nikomata resembles an old woman, often one addicted to some substance or other, and with an eerie, disturbing air about her. However, let me assure you, American readers of this book today, the most likely place you'll find a Bokinika is in the form of Lucky Mankinika figurines. After all, real cats. Oh, those are those crazy cat things that wave at you. After all, real cats are an even rarer sight these days than your average yokai. Okay, so those are weird cat things. Avian Extermination Act. The AEA was adopted by Night City Council. So they had an extermination back in 2063. Water, Chrome, and Blood, the Fourth Corporate War. Wow. It is truly remarkable that the large scale bloodshed known as the Fourth Corporate War began first as a simple rivalry between two ocean exploitation corporations, Chino, and OTEC. Both companies vied for controlling stake of the failing IHA Corporation. OTEC commissioned Militech to secure its business interests and perform certain special operations. Chino in turn signed a cooperation agreement with the Arasaka Corporation with a similar aim. When circumstances at last called for both colossal and prideful security corporations to clash in open combat, the Fourth War had officially begun. Yet, as it usually is the case with corporate conflicts, the onset proves subtle. Arasaka disables a Militech transport. Militech allegedly eliminates a high-ranking official of an Arasaka client. Both sides engage in frequent sabotage and data theft operations. Net runners from both sides infiltrate data forts to sow confusion, gather intel, and cause chaos in the stock markets. Though none would have thought it possible in those early months, the Arasaka Militech conflict truly jeopardized the stability of the world economy, making the threat of complete economic collapse all too real. For this reason, NetWatch introduced a communication embargo on both corporations. This did little to slow the conflict's pace, however. While China and OTEC had unilaterally reached a settlement and reached an understanding through peace talks, tensions between Arasaka and Militech continued to rise. This separation from the ocean dispute marks the beginning of the Fourth War's second phase, the so-called Shadow War, or Shadowrunner Wars. Military clashes between Militech and Arasaka were notoriously bloody, brutal, and without mercy. They waged their most damaging campaigns on the net. Arasaka and Militech netrunners launched attacks with the help of viruses that were often highly experimental. What's more, they created lethal ice measures and AI-like programs that could lurk in dark corners of the net for long periods to make strikes at the most opportune times. By the second half of 2022, Arasaka and Militech entered the final phase of the conflict, where both sides used every resource and strategy at their disposal. The hot war had begun. Around this time, the net that the world had known for years ceased to exist, and mercenaries hired by both corporations were slaughtered in open warfare, fought with the cutting-edge weapons technology. Then, in the war's most shocking and iconic turning point, the coup de grace came when an unknown group of mercenaries detonated a nuclear device at Arasaka's Night City headquarters. Shortly after the blast, bowing under increased pressure from the Japanese government, Arasaka laid down its arms and withdrew from many of its strategic positions, but most notably in Night City. Victory belonged to Militech, but it came at a heavy cost. Can cyberpsychosis be cured? Can cyberpsychosis really be cured? Opinions on that question are divided. Only a few years ago, so-called brain dance therapy was used across the entire country on a mass scale with the aim of bringing the sick back from the point of no return. The patient would be placed on a special chair and connected to a device that would deactivate all implants. Then electrodes would be attached, inducing the patient into a coma-like brain dance session. This was then followed up by medicine, psychosurgery, and the aversion therapy. The overall treatment was intended to sever all the patient's neural connections and tie them back together so that the cyberpsycho could return to society. Once the therapy was concluded, no symptoms of cyberpsychosis were detected, as well as the patient's former personality. But don't worry, nowadays other methods are used. At least that's what they tell us. California After Dusk, The Life of Richard Knight. Richard Knight was a pessimist. Even in the late 80s, when the economy seemed headed for endless growth and a nuclear threat for the ash heap of history, Knight saw the United States as hurtling towards collapse. Richard Knight was an optimist. He deeply believed the world could be changed for the better, and that he was the one to do it. Richard Knight was a realist, aware he couldn't change the face of the world all at once. He decided to start small, for him at least, by constructing the ideal city. His utopian metropolis was to be called Coronado City. It would stand as a metaphorical city on a hill, a shining example to the rest of the world. Richard Knight was doomed to fail, not because his vision was inherently impossible to realize, but because many important, powerful people wished to make it so. Richard Knight was murdered. The city whose foundation he laid was finished after his death, but his utopian dreams soon became a dystopian nightmare. Even the original name was lost. In honor of the city's tragically deceased founder, Coronado City was rechristened Night City. Ironically, the name fits. If anything, the city is a cat. Sleeping during the day, it comes frantically alive at night, and it loves to toy with its prey. Well, that's all our reading caught up. I think we have a few things that we didn't take a look at, so I'm just going to kind of what really happened at the Arasaka Tower. It's something I didn't read. Fold first net. Right, read that. Read that. I read that a while ago. Protein far. The day the tower fell. Right. Didn't read that. I didn't read this. I picked it up in the All Foods place. Okay.